Hello, everyone. Today's episode feels a bit special because sitting next to me, well, virtually, is not just a guest but my friend. Someone I met 3 or 4 years ago when I used to work as a project manager, trying to make senses of all these projects, deadlines, coffees, and dreams. Her name is Ina, and if you love movies, series, or books, you probably know her because Ina is doing very interesting, compelling, and beautiful blog about these stories on screens or pages. Today we dive into the Halloween topic, trying to reveal and understand differences between women and men's psychologies, the secret attraction to dark, controversial heroes on screens, such as Dracula or Christian Grey. Yes, I know it's very unexpected turn of our conversation, so light your candle, grab your tea, and join our conversation today.
I'm really happy to be here with you today too. And yes, there is a little time difference between us, but I tried to plan my day so I could keep some my energy for this talk and fill myself with inspiration. I wanted to gather some thoughts to share with you later.
Tell me, how did you start your YouTube channel? How did you realize, okay, I want to start filming now?
Honestly, I just wanted to feel something for a long time, but I couldn't find the right topic. I keep thinking, what could I actually tell people? I have so many interests. I get deeply into one thing, then switch to another, but couldn't catch the thing that would truly click. At some point, my best friend Natalie, who by the way appears on my channel, you were probably seeing her and I were filming together. She's always up for any kind of adventure, as they say, and easily joins in on my crazy ideas. We went to see Mickey 17. It came out at the start of 2025, a very controversial movie. We went mainly for Robert Pattinson, partly because he is attractive, but also because as an actor he is long outgrown Twilight. On the way home, we started discussing the film. Natalie and I often talk about different meanings and hidden layers in the movies. So I said, let's record all these thoughts and just make a YouTube video about it. And she said, let's do it. We filmed that first video without the microphone. I just set up a few phones from a different angles. I decided they would look good. I edited it about a week. It was a real mini project for me, but such an enjoyable one. When we finally uploaded it, we even got a few supportive comments. I designed the YouTube channel too. I didn't really know at the first how I wanted it to look, but with time everything found its place. Then I wanted to talk about more interesting things. I started reading a lot and decided to share thoughts about books. I thought, okay, I can make videos about that too. And another thing about me, whenever I watch something on YouTube, I instantly want to try it myself. When I watched vlogs, I wanted to feel one about my life. When I watched people discussing series, I wanted to talk about series. So everything came very naturally from what I truly enjoy, and it really makes me happy. I'm not chasing big results. I just love the processing, filming, editing, creating thumbnails. I adore it. It's probably my way of releasing this creative energy.
I think that's the real key to success in anything. When you're genuinely passionate about what you do and stay consistent, results will always come. I've noticed you've been creating videos steadily for a year now, and it's clear that it gives your energy. People can feel that, and that's exactly why they come to you for your energy, for your perspective. That's amazing.
Yeah, I also believe your audience will always find you. So, what inspired you to start your own startup, especially in a field like film, where everything is really on everyone's phones? What pushed you to create your own company?
It's such a good question and a deep one. Because when you ask that, I don't even know where to begin. The story of my startup didn't start a year ago when I left TikTok. It started long before that, and even not 3 years ago when the first idea appeared. Even earlier, back in my teenage years. When I was 14, I used to run home after school to watch The Vampire Diaries or Charmed, and I even created my own Emma Stone fan club when I was 14. I wanted to find people who loved the same actor so we could talk about her. I built a WordPress website. I was 14, but it already had around 10,000 visitors. Then, as you grow up, life starts putting labels on you. From parents, from society, you start thinking, who should I become? How do I earn a living? In Ukraine, we often don't think how to enjoy life, but rather how to survive. So I went into software engineering, became a developer, and later moved into IT project management. The idea of the startup came when I realized that movies and series aren't just entertainment. They trigger specific emotions in us. We don't just turn on Netflix for background noise, we're searching for a certain feeling. Here's an interesting fact. People who often watch true crimes or documentaries about psychopaths or murders usually experience anxiety, though they don't always realize it. Watching these stories helps them transfer the anxiety to the screen, to process it safely while observing something happening to others. It's the psyche's way of releasing tension.
That's really interesting. I never thought of it that way. By the way, about watching in the background, just today before our talk, I watched an interview with an actress who said that nowadays writers and directors are given a specific task to make shows that can be watched passively in the background because it's becoming harder for people to focus. We watch and scroll our phones at the same time. So when dialogue sounds a bit repetitive or too simple, that's intentional so the viewer doesn't get lost. I do myself too. For example, right now I'm watching Gilmore Girls. I have never seen it from the start to finish. It's that kind of show you can have on while making breakfast, doing your hair, or taking a shower. Just something warm and easy to have in the background.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. We live in a world of a quick dopamine, TikTok, Instagram. You get a hit of emotion in 3 seconds. The brain gets tired and starts craving junk content just to reset. There's a great comparison. Scrolling is like an elevator. The feet doesn't move, but we do going down. And when we finally stop scrolling, 15, 45 minutes or even 2 hours may have passed. Suddenly, we are on minus 10 floor. But the elevator doesn't go back up to reality by itself. We have to press the button and ask ourselves, wait, what was I even doing? Why did I open my phone? And that's why, going back to my startup, I wanted to create something that doesn't make people feel emptier, but instead helps them reflect. Movies and series can be tools to understand ourselves and the people around us. Like in your case, you and your friend watched a film, talked about it, felt something together. That's the perfect form of connection. The same happens in couples, families, friendships. Cinema can be a mirror of our lives.
Oh, that's such a brilliant thought. And it just reminded me an idea. I have this book, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, by the British author, by the way. At the end, there were discussions question for book clubs to reflect on the story together after reading. And I thought, why don't we do that for movies? Because reading is like living thoughts a character's life. The same goes for films. We might not hear the characters' thoughts, but we see their actions, emotion, connections. These stories keeps repeating, just in different shades. Wouldn't it be amazing if after the end credits a few questions appear? What was this story about for you? What did you feel? Or maybe on the website after the movie, those questions could pop up. I visited today's Scrolled Thought and thought that would be wonderful. It helps people understand what director's idea more deeply and theme and real heart of the story.
I really love the line of thinking because that's exactly what we've been planning. You know, not everyone is ready yet for emotional awareness. That's why we gently add in small elements of cognitive behavioral therapy into Feel Real, though most people don't even realize it. For example, on a movie's page, we have emotions, five base emotions: sadness, happiness, excitement, fear, and anger. When a user picks one, a pop up appears with the related feelings. It helps them recognize what they actually felt. When we ran out our first marketing survey, it turned out many people couldn't tell the difference between sadness and tragedy. Others, on the contrary, said, "Five emotions aren't enough, give me 25 more." People are all different, and everyone has their own level of emotional intelligence. Like Hermione Granger said, "You've got the emotional range of a teaspoon." It's funny, but also painfully true. Feel Real is about reconnecting with yourself through movies. We removed stars, ratings, and tomatoes. We made emotions the main measure of experience. Because honestly, you see a film rated 3 stars and think, should I watch it or not? But maybe that film is exactly what you need tonight. Ratings don't matter as much as how you want to feel during and after watching. That's our mission.
Yes, I love that idea because I have noticed it that a different kind of viewers, how should I call them, the super smart ones, maybe even know it alls, and those who just vibe with everything I say and it really lands with them. There are also those who miss the deeper meanings. On my channel, I try to keep my reviews really simple. Whether it's about book or films, because I truly believe that the simpler, the better. There is no need to overcomplicate things, in it's entertainment after all. It doesn't have to be heavy. If I wanted to study, I would open a textbook or look for educational videos. For me, the most important thing is the aftertaste. What's left when the movie ends? With books, I even have my own list of criteria. I always ask myself, what's the emotional aftertaste? What the story as a whole? Did I feel disappointed, delighted, touched, angry? Did it feel romantic or dramatic? And another key thing, what does it remind me of? I love comparisons. Even when I see a trailer or read a synopsis, which honestly lately are often misleading or written terribly, my impressions after reading or watching is usually completely different. That's why I always ask, what is this like? When people use comparisons, it helps way more than ratings. Because we are all influenced by others. Ask yourself, if you are going to see the film by your favorite director, but five of your friends tell you it's a trash, will you still love it? I doubt it. Our minds tend to fix it on the negative. We come in already biased, seeing only the flaws. And the good stuff, we have to work harder to notice it. On the other hand, there is the issue of expectations. If those same five friends say the movie is masterpiece and then I have seen it and feel meh, it's disappointing. The bar was set too high. I've had that with the books. Everyone online saying you won't be able to put it down, and then I start reading and nothing. And there it is, disappointment. I checked Goodreads or Rotten Tomatoes, hundreds of thousands of glowing reviews, or the 78% score, and I think how, at some point, you start feeling like an outsider. Then happened to me recently with DiCaprio's new movie. I went to see it, and honestly, for the first time ever, I felt nauseous in the cinema. There were too many close ups, everyone called it genius. Shot on a film, the director worked on a script for 30 years, DiCaprio's Oscar level stuff. And you go in thinking, Oh my god, I'm going to be blown away. And it's 3 hours long. But instead, I felt physically uncomfortable and it left this bitter aftertaste, all that ugliness and human mess. Yet everyone keeps saying it's a masterpiece, Oscar worthy. By the way, I honestly can't remember the last time an Oscar film left a pleasant aftertaste. They are usually deeply triggering. That's why they attract attention and critics praise. But what those critics are thinking, I don't know. I don't evaluate camera angles or frame quality. I might notice it, but that's not what matters for me. For me, the main thing are the story, the aftertaste, and whether I believe the actors. Someone might say that's too simple, but honestly, 80% of people are like me. Critics, maybe 5%, no more.
I completely agree with you because movies, series, and books are made by people for people. Let's forget for a moment about the millions invested just to make profit. Let's focus on the simple thing that a person should enjoy watching. That's why we have the right to rate and talk about films and series however we want, period.
Yes, remember J.K. Rowling? She was rejected, what, 8 times? Or even more, 12? Her books was turned down over and over again. And now we are lived with that story for years, half of my life really. And I still reread it until the pages nearly fall apart.
That's such a great example of why you shouldn't stop. Even if you hear no 12 times, keep going and find your people. That's the real key to success. Ina, I have a question for you. You've been running your channel for about 10, 12 months now, probably a year, right? Imagine this, you standing in the center of Odessa with a cardboard sign. You can write one short sentence, 2 or 3 words that describe your mission. Why you doing your YouTube channel? What you want to say and share with people? What would you write on that sign?
I think it would be something about meaning, maybe searching for meaning in everything. I will need to think more about how I praise it briefly, but yes, something about the meaning of life. Because you live your own story, and every movie, series, or book is another life you get to experience while exploring the world. I believe we live to discover both the world and ourselves. And film and books are an extra source of that discovery. Probably something like that. You really caught me off guard with this question.
It's a beautiful answer. Think about this sometime more, and if you come up with a new version, just tell not only me but your viewers in your next video. I really love your perspective. Let's switch to Halloween. How do you feel about this holiday?
I don't celebrate Halloween. I grew up in a time when it simply didn't exist. We didn't even know about it. So for me, it doesn't feel like a real holiday. Now I mostly see it as an information event or a marketing trick, Halloween discounts, Halloween events, and that's it. I don't feel any magic in it. As a child, when I watched the films or series, mostly American ones, of course, Hollywood, Halloween seems like inseparable part of life, and that kind of influenced us a bit of holiday propaganda because it wasn't part of our own culture. I know about the Celtic festival Samhain from October 31 to November 1st, which is actually about the end of the summer, the coming of cold, and the thinning line between the worlds. It has the completely different message about cycles and renewal, but how it's shifted towards something like demons crawling out and dark spirits. I don't like that. Fear stays in the body. That's why I don't watch horror movies. Life gives us enough reason to get scary already. That genre is just not for me. Some people like transferring their panic onto the screen. Maybe it helps them, but I don't like the feeling of fear. So no, I don't celebrate Halloween. Maybe I even have an inner protest against it, and not because it's non-religious. I honestly don't care much about the religion, but because Halloween doesn't evoke warm feelings in me. I'm curious about your view, though. Maybe you have already embraced the European tradition, which is much stronger here than it ever was back home.
I used to feel the same resistance to this holiday because I also dislike the sense of fear and shock. I do not like masks, and horror movies are an absolute no for me. Once I watched Sinister, and that was it, never again. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. I was around 17 or 18 back then, too young. My psyche wasn't ready for that. But I was always curious about the atmosphere. Why pumpkins? Why they carved? Why people dress up as other beings or characters? I actually love the idea of creating a celebration out of nothing. In our culture, it truly was out of nothing. It started somewhere in America or Mexico, and we just picked it up through the trends, pop culture, and marketing. I've lived in England for 3 years now, and I see that here it's not as big as in America. Over there, it's full on madness houses, installations, animatronics. Here, it's more modest, but still very, very nice. Kids love it. Drawing spiders, carving pumpkins, going door to door for sweets. It's sweet and funny, something to do together. That's simple. Childlike joy is what I like about it. But when the goal becomes scaring people with masks or creepy sounds, that's not for me. And those sinister or Silent Hill horror marathons, I don't support it at all.
Totally agree. What's interesting is that kids growing up now will see it as their own tradition. For us, not really, but culture keep flowing and changing. We live between two eras. Maybe our generation was lucky. We grew up without smartphones, with landlines, VHS tapes, then CDs and DVDs, and now we witnesses how everything transformed. Maybe it always been like this. We just didn't have a way to document it. But then it was chronicles. Now it's the internet. Maybe every 100 years there is a this generation shift because the world never stopped moving. I'm curious what traditions will exist 100 years from now. New holidays will appear. Even in Ukraine, within our lifetime, so much has changed. Key events, new dates to remember and celebrate.
Yes, and I think we should adopt only those traditions that genuinely resonate with us. I never really understood Helen, but I was curious about it. And last year, I watched Coco. It's an animated film for kids, but honestly, Disney, Pixar, animation works are always for adults too. Coco made me realize that Halloween can actually be seen as something closer to All Saints' Day, a moment to remember our roots, our generation, to think about why our generation turned out the way it did, and what we can do for the next one. That message hit me deeply. I think today's world needs to teach kids to remember their family, what their parents, grandparents, and great great parents were like, what they did, what hobbies they had. Coco beautifully shows how important it is to know your roots and be grateful for them. hmm And after watching it, my view on Halloween changed. I started thinking of it that way. And once that perspective settled, I told myself, this I can accept. This is what I can teach my future kids. Not to scare people in the streets, but to create a small family ritual. Talk about what your great grandmother used to do, where she lived, what was special about her. Take out old photos and make time for it. That, to me, feels like the real magic of the day.
I think you are right. And that cartoon really is brilliant. I love it too. It's softened my, let's say, more aggressive view of Halloween into something kinder. It's gorgeous. But I also want to say that our culture has something similar in its own time, Provodi. It's like a remembrance week. During the Easter period, in every village or region at different times, we have Provodi. Maybe it's not very modern or exciting for everyone, but it still matters to me. My grandparents and I used to go to Provodi and remember our ancestors. You go to the cemetery and you remember. Now my grandparents are gone and my mom tends their graves, so we had this in our culture too, not just the Mexicans. They remember through photos and we remember through care and memory. It's just fading a bit. Not many people do it now.
And it's about marketing. In our culture, it's barely promoted. We probably never figured out how to make it grand enough for the whole world to notice. Mexicans and Americans turned it into a cultural phenomenon. Like you said, a kind of cult or propaganda, so now everyone knows what Halloween is. I think marketing and branding really shapes whether you want to join or feel part of it or not. Yes, we have Provode, but we don't promote it at all. It's just a religious tradition rather than a pretty picture, unlike Halloween with pumpkin spider switches.
Yes, it's not trendy. If someone took it on and make it trendy, then sure. Usually the foreign stuff is fashionable and our own isn't. Although I can already see that they're changing, people are starting to remember their roots, national symbols, traditional jewelry, a lot of coming back. I hope that continues. As long as we're alive and remember there is a Remembrance Week, which is essence for our culture Halloween, all is not lost.
Would you ever be curious to dress up and go to a costume party to spend an evening not as Inna, but say as a witch or a vampire?
Maybe if we're more dressy than scary, an excuse to wear a gown from the last century, then yes. Remember Mean Girls? I think there they invite the main character to a Halloween party and ask, "What costume? Scary?" And they answer, "What do you mean scary? It's the one night a year when I can dress like a slut and no one judge you because it's a costume. Bunny ears, corsets, a tail, a beauty mark." So if I were to dress up, I would be one of those extremists, either the slutty version because I know no one will judge, or a long dress and a look from a certain era. But then it's more like a carnival. You could just go to the carnival and get it out of your system. So the slutty options is probably the most likely, and then the question is settled.
By the way, that brings up the idea of the shadow self. For so long, women hide their true selves, and we didn't even talk about the shadow self. Only now we are starting to open up our femininity, sexuality, and freedom in the 21st century. For years, we were boxed in stay home with family and I'll go write books, start a company, earn money. Now we, as a women, are beginning to claim ourselves, the real us. And there's also the darker side that was shut down too. Do not shout, do not make a scene, don't be so emotional. That's not how you act. I can't handle your emotions. You overthinking you too much. And in truth, the shadow part deserves space too. And I'm glad that at least one day, Halloween, a woman can put something on and not feel hated for it.
I agree. I probably didn't experience as strong pressure myself. I was lucky. Sometimes you can feel a light breeze of it, but I don't dwell on it. And honestly, sometimes you can even use the fact that you are a woman. If some people have their bases, well, fine. For example, when they say women can drive, but we often drive more calmly. I have never seen a woman floor at the traffic lights. Whether that's a shadow side or not, I don't know, but it's our little advantage. At your point about the shadow side is interesting. I really bring up the witch theme in the Middle Ages. If a woman was educated or skilled at something, she could be called a witch and burned.
And you probably noticed the most popular Halloween looks are witches and vampires, two very different archetypes, always at the top of costume lists.
Yeah, because it's easy. Draw some blood, put on head, and you're done. Even today, when I was working near Arcadia, I live in Odessa, there was a basket of brooms outside the cafe, and the sign say, "Parking for your brooms." Put on a hood, and you are in character. I think it gives girls real joy. Me and my coven are off to rituals. Girls are generally more magical. There is even the idea of magical thinking when a person tends to attribute events to fate or mystical causes, handling responsibility over the something out there, it shows up more often in women than in men who are more rational. So the broomstick analogy doesn't surprise me. It shows with the vampires, there are almost always witches or magic nearby. They walk side by side. I feel like in many stories, vampires are made by witches or helped by them to craft or daylight ring, break a curse, or so on. Sometimes they skip the part, but usually vampirism and the witchcraft go hand in hand.
And then there were werewolves, the enemies of vampires. Jacob and Edward, Tyler Klaus and Damon and Stefan, the whole pattern set. Why do you think we've been drawn to vampire stories for so many years? Why is it always in? From Twilight to the Vampire Diaries, Van Helsing, the new Dracula 2025, and so on? Why doesn't the topic let us go? Even when it feels like nothing new is happening.
It's real phenomenon. I love vampire stories, all of them. They're such a big part of fantasy, one of the pillars of the genre. When you say vampire, we usually imagine a man. When you say witch, a woman. That's already a social pattern of roles. There is always a male vampire who somehow falls in love with a human girl. It reflects relationship dynamics. He's strong, invincible, fast, cold skinned, yet she's his witness. For the world, he is a bad guy, but for her, he loves, protects, saves. It's easy to recognize the Cartman drama triangle here: rescuer, persecutor, victim. It's hard to escape this pattern. You can only transform it. I even saw an article about it. I can share it if you want it. The point is that we are always in one of these roles. It's a part of human psychology. That's what pulls us in, not the roles themselves, but the emotional dependency. We were shown love that forever. The vampire falls in love once and never again, like Edward with Bella, and we all secretly crave that feeling to be chosen, to feel like it's a conscious choice, that I'm special to him. The vampire intensified this fantasy. She is unique for him. Her blood draws to him. She is his one special kind of soul, that sense of exclusivity. At the same time, his vulnerability. He is incredibly strong, but with her, he exposes it. I talked about this in a previous video on Dracula 2025, and it's really resonated, girls. One wrote that she had unconsciously looked for a man who was strong but vulnerable. It makes sense. No one wants to be with a statue, cold and emotionless, but an overly emotional man is hard to rely on either. There needs to be balance. And when that balance is there, you see your man as strong, masculine, protective, you feel safe. And at the same time, you feel his love because he lets you to see his softness, that you matter, that he doesn't want to lose you, that he feels for you. That's really vulnerability. We are not talking about men crying all the time, no, but at least with the woman, he should open up and show his heart. Wow, I really said a lot there.
So interesting. You touch on so many brilliant points that I want to jot them down and dive deeper into each one. Because I also see it that way. While listening to you, I realized that vampire stories are deeply targeted toward women. They play on our fears. You mentioned exclusivity, love once and forever. That's such a feminine need to be chosen, to feel crowned by your man, to know he truly picked you and you'll be together forever. And underneath that lie our fears of being abandoned, of being alone, of what will neighbor Valia or my friend Maria thinks. In Ukrainian society, there's a still belief that if you're single, something's wrong with you. You're not a whole. Here in Britain or maybe in the US, no one cares. You're already complete as a woman. And then there's the fantasy of the strong man, the millionaire, the boss, the alpha who can solve everything, the vampire who would cross the world for love. Yet we also want him to be emotionally open, to talk about his feelings, to say, I'm sad, how are you, my love? Tell me what's wrong. Why are you upset? These are opposite traits, and often they belong to different people. Someone who runs a multi-million company isn't always empathetic. Why does the image of Christian Grey work? Because it's a fairy tale. The alpha millionaire who chooses her and is willing to change and talk about feelings. In real life, men like that are extremely rare. Usually, one type is more family oriented and emotionally available, while the other is career focused and distant. Somewhere in between, there's a small group of strong yet emotionally open men, just like your follower described. Writers and directors know this perfectly. They craft stories around our female fears and desires.
Exactly. You said perfectly. Movies help us perceive our fears. But there is an important detail about vulnerability. First of all, when a woman says her partner must earn a lot, there should be a second column right next to consequences. If he earns a lot, he either interested in or works all the time, meaning that time won't be with you. So you need your own hobbies, your own purpose. Otherwise, you will live suffer from his absence. Every criterion has its consequences. It's important to remember that. If you want a strong man who protects you, okay, but from what exactly? Often that strength comes with a bit of aggression. In a cafe, someone accidentally bumps into you and he's already defending you so fiercely it becomes awkward. Cause and effect. Secondly, my view of vulnerability in men is a bit different. Every Christian Grey isn't about I'm sad every minute. It's more about empathy, the ability to feel emotions and acknowledge them. He was vulnerable too, but in his own way. He opened up for her, cared, worried about her. That's the kind of vulnerability we long for, the emotional connection. When he genuinely cares, you home safe? Did you eat? Are you okay? And when you tell him something wrong, he doesn't dismiss it, he listens. Ideally, at work, he can be alpha. Make tough decisions, but at home find peace and softness in you. And if there is a breakup, you want to see that he feels it, that it hurts because with you it was better than without. That's vulnerability too. Show that relationship mattered, that losing it hurts. Indifference kills everything. So it all connects. Feeling chosen because you choose him too. You both picked each other consciously. And it's not about crying, though I do believe men should have the right to cry and express emotions freely. I like that this is becoming more accepted, less than old macho mindset.
Everything you said truly resonates with me. I'll add one more thing. There was a 15-year British study that found people who reach the top, millionaires, billionaires, high achievers, tend to show more psychopathic traits than empathy. Christian Grey is basically a unique exception, which is why the fantasy works. Vampires and Draculas belong to the same world, powerful, composed, seductive, alpha energy, and it's beautiful to dream, but I just hope we don't get lost in illusions of something that in real life almost doesn't exist.
There is also something natural about it, a biological instinct. The female doesn't just choose an alpha, she chooses the one who feels right to build the future with. During ovulation, we really do tend to be drawn to the image of a strong man. We want that energy to show itself. I feel my own cycle very clearly when I'm more productive at work and when I'm more sensitive. There are days when I just want someone to protect me. Recently, I watched my friend getting married and it's made me tear up, even though I almost never cry. Sometimes, when someone in the queue snaps at me, I usually snap back, but lately, I have felt more fragile. Women don't fully understand themselves yet. Our bodies are hormonal cycles and still under researched. I hope that changed. It could help men understand us better too.
So, what does a woman really want? I think we want opposites combined. We want a man who can be both strong and gentle, determined and emotionally open. So, men, take notes.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm curious, do men have something similar? I've asked some of my friends if they ever feel cycles of their own. Life itself is cyclical. There are highs and lows. Do men also have combination of traits they seek in women? Because we women talks a lot about our needs in videos, in text, but what about their side? Some men see their partner as a homemaker, other as a lover, and some wants a woman who can take care of herself so they don't have to worry. But every quality has its cause and consequences. If you want a strong and independent woman, okay, but be really that she's busy with her work, she invests a lot of energy there, and she might be less gentle if she is in a leadership role. I often hear, I want her to be independent, smart, beautiful, tender, but also a bit of a boss. I think in today's world, people really need to understand every desire comes with the consequences. Balance is the key.
But as we learned from the movie The Materialist, when you meet your person, it doesn't matter whether they live in the penthouse or share a room with flatmates. We'll definitely come back to that film, it's such a rich topic, a deep well to dig into. I feel like today's conversation turned out both soulful and philosophical. We didn't just talk about movies and series, but also about Halloween traditions and the psychology of men and women. If you, our listeners, enjoyed this, we'll do more episodes. Share what resonates with you, or even what you disagree with. Truth is born in discussion. Ina, thank you so much. Today was incredible, honest, and full of meaning.
I completely agree. And please, if you have topics you would like to talk about, write to us. We could do this endlessly. There are so many movies, series, and books, and each one carries a story worth exploring. Even if you disagree with our opinion, still write. I always love hearing other perspectives. It broadens my horizons. The only thing, if someone leaves offensive comment, I just don't react. Sorry, but if you can't keep it respectful, you're probably not part of my audience. Ola, thank you so much for your thoughtful questions. Maybe we planned the talk to go in a different direction, but it found its own flow and it turned it out even better. There was a life experience, a relationship experience, professional insight, all blending into one. And it's nice to have a conversation like this and see that they resonate. Maybe for some of you listening, these thoughts will come at just the right time to comfort, inspire, or help you reflect. For me, that's valuable. Thank you for your time. I hope both you and my audience enjoy this. We will definitely do more of this as long as we feel inspired to.